So first of all, welcome everybody. We are doing our workshop today on person-centered care approaches. I'd like to do a very quick introduction. This is going to be a very interactive, although silent at the back, workshop because this is really, I think often people who are coming to this kind of conference, you're coming in with some kind of knowledge of what we're talking about, and those of you who aren't, you'll pick it up pretty quick. We really want to work with some of the concepts that were talked about this morning rather than just repeating things that had been already said. So many of you already know me, those who don't, and our friends out there in the wide world. My name is Francine Cytrynbaum. I'm wearing a few hats today. My day job, I work as a teacher at Vanier College, teaching special care counselling. I also work at UQAM, teaching in social work, in ethics, and I'm also playing the part today of coordinator of this conference, so I've had a busy day. And I moonlight at the Alzheimer Society, running support groups for caregivers of people with dementia. So that's my interest in person-centered care, comes from the many parts of my life that are involved in it. So I'd like to also let my colleague Dayna do a quick introduction.
So to many of you as well, you would know who I am. See some familiar student faces around and colleagues. So I'm Dayna Morrow. I'm also a teacher at Vanier College in Special Care Counselling. I had worked for 10 years full-time at the Alzheimer Society of Montreal and then did my moonlighting there as well as a trainer for over 8 years, and I'm now a board member there at the Alzheimer Society. So it is a pleasure to be here today. It is certainly a subject which I speak to and teach to all the time, and something that's very near and dear to my heart is talking about person-centered care. And so that is why hopefully Francine and I are going to enlighten your minds and give you a few things to work on today that will help you develop better practices in person-centered care as well.
Okay, so we're going to start out with a little exercise. So on everyone's table, there are a number of things. We have some, there's a few handouts that we're going to be consulting and using in the workshop. There's also a pack of Post-it notes. So can everyone find your Post-it notes and designate, everyone take a Post-it note. We're going to start with everyone taking a Post-it note. And what you're going to be doing individually to start is you are going to be writing down 3 words. I made that up last time. I thought it was 3, not 1, but we're going to do it anyway. Write down 3 words that come to mind describing person-centered care.
No Post-it note?
No Post-it notes? Oh, we happen to have an extra here.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone got? So you just take a minute to do it.
3 words that you would use, 3 good description words that you can think of for person-centered care.
Are we ready? Okay, so what we're going to do is who wants to go first? Which table wants to start?
I guess the table who consented.
Well,
The table consented.
then you can have the mic because you consented.
Do you want to be the
Who wants to report?
Go ahead. No, it's going to be the thing. Yeah, Dayna, go ahead.
You can figure it out, guys. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first 3 terms that we came up that were unique were non-institutional, that person-centered care is empathic, and that it's holistic.
We wrote that we should take culture and values into account. Dignity is important, a meaningful approach, also dignity, and personalized.
Thank you. Okay, so for the next tables, you can't use the mic. You got to tell me, and I will repeat it for the mic. We could do that. Okay, so table number 2. The list is individual needs, human care, considerate, collaboration, lifestyle, culture, and kind, as in kindness. Kindness. It's interesting how we come up with different things on the same theme. Mm-hmm. All right. Nice. And table number 3. Empathy. Respect. Focus on individual needs, social, physical, and meals, specifically food. I'm not surprised.
We all focus around food.
Absolutely. Although, in these kind of formal conference settings, it's nice to hear that we remember there's a very human element and it's so basic. Okay, thank you. So,
I'll give you the answer.
I think you know the answer. So who should practice person-centered care? Everyone.
All of us,
All of
yes.
us. I don't have the list of who says what, so just tell me.
You say this.
I did. I do. Okay, good. So we are basing a lot of the elements of the presentation parts and the context of what we're doing in this workshop on the work of Tom Kitwood, who in the late 90s was one of the pioneers of developing the concepts of person-centered care. We're using his definition of personhood.
Tom Kitwood.
Tom Kitwood. Okay, Kitwood. From 1997, personhood is a standing or status that is bestowed upon one human being by others. It implies recognition, respect, and trust. Through this recognition, respect, and trust, the personhood of an individual will be enhanced as well as their well-being. If the opposite occurs, then the personhood will diminish, leading to ill-being. Okay, we talk a lot about well-being, but the opposite being ill-being, and this is one of the things that Tom Kitwood explores, because we talk about the positive, but we have to really recognize the damage that can be done without taking a person-centered approach.
Right, so Kitwood, to summarize this, was saying that the medical care is obviously quite important. It's, everybody needs to have their medications and things like this, but that the psychological care was just as equally important as the medical care, and that there had to be a balance, and it wasn't just one focus, that we really had to broaden our view. So,
Do you want me to take over the pushing the buttons, or you want to do this?
I'm good for the moment.
Okay.
So what he said, Kitwood, was that the person is really at the core or the center of person-centered care, okay? And that everything should be directed towards their care and towards that person. And surrounding them had to be support. So making sure that those who are caring for the individual were giving support in a variety of different ways. That could have been, physical support, psychological support, etc. Kitwood also said that facilitation was important, so that we are facilitating person-centered care, that we're enabling the person to ask for what they need and saying, yes, okay, we're listening to you. We will do what we can to give you what you need, and we will enable you. We will try to find ways to make sure that your voice is heard, that you have an opinion, that you are part of the care process, okay? And then on the outer circle, he said that decision-making, so obviously if it's a person with dementia or any other type of disease, that they have a say in the decision-making. And that could be very small things. It could be anything from what they might wear that day, be it slacks or a dress, or what they might drink, be it a coffee or a tea, so that they were involved in their decision-making. And also that they had an equality of communication, so that they were able to communicate and that we were able to listen. And even if they were nonverbal, that we were still able to listen to them and we were still looking for what they were trying to say to us. And, of course, that there was a mutual respect. And that's something that I think is foundational to person-centered care, is this mutual respect that, just because the person may or may not still have a voice and may not be able to tell you what exactly all of their needs are, that we respect that they have needs, that they are an individual. We heard that this morning, that they're not just a body and not just a thing and an object, that we really do give them their personhood. So Kitwood said that our approach needs to be humanistic, that it needs to be dignified, and that it should always be morally ethical. That there should always be shared decisions and really mutual respect. So there were some researchers down in the States named Wilbur and Moscata who did a literature review looking for definitions of person-centered care. And what they came up with was really these 6 most prominent domains when they were looking at what are the areas that define person-centered care. And one was, of course, having a very holistic, so looking at the person at their level. I'm hearing things, am I? Yeah, I am, eh? Okay.
Le micro est
That there was a very
dans le
holistic,
salon ici.
person-centered approach.
That is- c'est bon, ce
that-
salle-là. On entend ça.
Am I hearing
Ferme-le.
voices?
Excusez-moi. Oui, parce que c'est pour nous.
Okay, the voice. Okay. Where is this voice coming from? Okay, and that in person-centered care, that there was always respect and value, certainly for the individual, that the person is always offered many choices. That was a foundational domain that was important to person-centered care. Dignity being a foundational, important domain as well. Self-determination, so that the person is able to make some decisions for themselves, that they maybe have some feedback, whether it's, do I want to go to this activity, do I want to go to that activity, that there's just some sort of decision-making, obviously, from their part, and also that they have purposeful living, okay? And these were determined as being the 6 top domains. So based on that, Kitwood said, okay, they have psychological needs, and they're all based in love. That's what he said. We need to have amicable relationships. We have to be showing loving and compassion relationships to all of our residents in order to have a person-centered approach to care. And this is where he said, you know, again, those psychological needs are just as important, and that love is really at the center. And then came all of these other lovely pieces. So we had comfort, so that the person feels that they have a trusting relationship with their care partners, and having this trusting relationship would help them feel whole and would help them feel very complete. The next one is attachment, so that they would find some sort of security, that there'd be some kind of familiarity in an unusual place. So maybe they would have pictures, you know, of family members. They could have choice of colors. They could have decorations in their room. They could have stuff that made them feel more familiar and included. So inclusion being the next one, that they would be involved in their lives and their decision-making, and also involved in the lives of others. So a lot of times when we go into a long-term care facility, they might be there, the people, but they're not necessarily involved in the social. Well, why did we all bring them out to the living room? To have them involved in the social. Well, there's no social. The TV's on, they're sleeping, the head is down. So this is not what we're looking for when we're talking about the social. That would not be Kitwood's definition of social interaction, okay, and inclusion. And occupation. So individuals, it doesn't matter where they are at in a disease process. They have to feel like they have some sort of need to do something. People need to be needed. And this is why when we say, you know, excuse me, miss, can you help me? People feel very good, and they want to feel like there's occupation. There's something that you need me to do. So occupation means having jobs for people. So it could be things like folding clothes and helping me set up for an activity and helping move the chairs around and setting the table. But people like to feel needed, okay? And Kitwood also said identity. So what distinguishes are people from one another. So just as you all are very different, and I can't say, oh, everybody in this room is like this, well, so are people with dementia. So Kitwood said, and you know, it's a common phrase that we hear very often, is if when you know one person with Alzheimer's disease, you know one person, because each person is unique, and they should not be all clumped together. Oh, you know, all those people with dementia are like this or are like that. Okay, so we're going to move on to say that how do we get to do all this?
You just missed one point. Go back the slide.
I missed one point?
Yeah.
Oh, so for people with advanced dementia,
good.
sometimes it is the caregiver that has to assume some of these roles because the person themselves cannot say, I need love, I need to feel busy, I need to feel included, I need to. So we have to make sure that these are kind of almost Maslow's foundational needs, that we work with the individual to have those needs met. Okay, they're not always, and that's one of the things that I always find interesting, is people with dementia are not necessarily going to tell you what their needs are, because maybe they can't. So we need to, you know, think outside of the box a little bit. Okay, so we said that before, and I heard it on the floor, that education is key and is one of the components. And Kit Wood sort of put this in two camps, okay? He said you could either be working on the positive person work side of dementia care, so fulfilling those psychological needs, or there's a lot of things that we do that are maybe negative, so the malignant social psychology. So what's undermining the personhood? What's taking away from personhood? One of the things I hear commonly, just to give you an example, is just a couple weeks back in stage, one of my students told me, I am on the unit and some of the PABs are laughing at a certain client who has Parkinson's, and I saw them imitating this individual. And they were imitating them at break. And so I said, what is that doing? Robbing the person of personhood. And it changes everybody's approach and interaction with that individual. So we can be in one of two camps, and we're going to give you the opportunity to participate in those two camps today.
So am I doing the first role play?
You are.
This is my turn. Okay, so you're going to get actually doing some active work here.
Do you want to do the table first, or do you want to do the role play first?
No, let's do the role play. I like how that worked. Let's do it that way.
Okay.
We're experimenting. Okay, so I just want to say for the couple of people who joined our workshop after we started, just a warning to you, we're being live streamed. So the people who are sitting at this table are the people who consented to be filmed. If anyone wants to participate, you have to understand that this is actually being filmed live. People are watching us, and this is going to be kept for posterity. So if you do volunteer to participate in this little role play, we have to get your consent, written consent after, actually before, because you're being filmed now. So unless any of you have a burning desire to change your mind, or the newcomers decide they want to actually participate, we have narrowed down the number of people who can do role plays, 2 people at this table, And so we're looking for 2 people to volunteer to come up here to do we're going to give you a little bit of a script and a scenario, and we're going to do a little demonstration of what not to do. And then we're going to be doing an exercise with all of you. So you have to pay really close attention because, like I said, it's live stream. We can't rewind, so you can watch it again, okay? So I want you to pay attention to what's going on because we're going to do the second part of the exercise after is around your table. You're going to be identifying all the different things that should not have happened. I will not step on it. So we need 2 people who are willing to come up here and be in the light, be in the camera.
One person can play David. Is there anybody named David?
Okay.
So we'll give you a couple seconds. You can read through the role play. So as you'll see up here in the case, so who is David? It's an 85-year-old man who's been diagnosed with dementia. He's been living in long-term care for the past 4 years. He needs some partial assistance with some of his ADLs, so eating, washing, dressing, elimination, drinking, and safety. And he came to long-term care when his wife, I should say Jeanne, died. Okay?
I changed it in the French to make it sound feminine and not Jean, but the original was actually Jean.
Okay,
so.
it's Jean. I've got my French
We're
hat on.
thinking in French. We did our first
Yeah.
workshop in French, so. And it's not Luc either.
Here, I'll give you the mics so you can be heard. Francine, Mike.
Mike. Sorry, that's
Thanks.
it. And which one is actually playing David? And
I'm
which-
David's David.
David's going to
I'm
David, so you're going to be standing up.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. Come on, David, you haven't eaten any of your vegetables yet.
I don't want any more. I'm finished.
Well, you won't get any dessert unless you finish that up. Come on, the vegetables are good for you.
No thanks. I have to go get ready. My wife Jean is coming to pick me up in 15 minutes.
Well, Jean just called before dinner and told me that she was running a bit late, so you still have some time. Won't you finish your vegetables?
No, I don't like the vegetables.
Of course you do. Here, let me help you. Open your mouth. Good man. Vegetables are good, right? Delicious. Here you go. Perfect. Now you can have some dessert. Perfect.
Okay, so a round of applause for our actors.
our volunteers. Okay. These are going to come back again
Okay,
soon.
so we're going to
Okay.
go back to our table.
All right. So you will see on your tables there is a double-sided page that has Table 1 and Table 2. If it says Table 2, turn it over. We're starting with Table 1. And this is based on the work of Tom Kitwood. We're going to be talking about what he calls malignant social psychology. Okay, so negative social psychology or destructive social psychology. And he identified, I don't even know how many, about 20 different, now I'm getting tired.
words.
On live camera. Words, right. It's not just French. Items or identified aspects that he gave specific names to for the different ways in which one can interact with somebody with dementia that are destructive. So these and these are things that most of us are familiar with, but he really nailed them down with specific terms. The first one is treachery. So deceiving a person in order to distract them or manipulate them to do what you want. We have a problem? I don't have a technician. He n'est pas là. I'm sorry. Alex, you're on duty. Sorry, technical difficulties. The second one is disempowerment. And I think we're all familiar with the concept of empowerment. This is the opposite, where you are not allowing a person to use the abilities that they actually do have. So taking away whatever power remains. The third one, infantilization, treating a person like a child. Intimidation, basically using threats or coercion, either physical or psychological, to get the person to do what you want. Labeling a person. So using the example that we had from the literature was elderly, mentally infirm, but it could be a lot of different things. Referring to a person by the bed or the room that they're in, referring to, the Parkinson guy, the aggressive lady, all kinds of labels that get stuck on people. Oh, it's Miss You-Know-What, or, the one who never eats her dessert, or the one, no, that wouldn't be an issue. The one who only eats dessert, whatever it might be. So reducing a person to a label. Stigmatization, basically treating a person as if they're an outcast and not, publicly in that way humiliating the person. Outpacing. I like that word. That's not one that we use often. Outpacing, meaning that either in what you say or in what you're doing with a person, you're going faster than they can do it, and therefore leaving them behind. Often that goes along with, oh, you can't do it fast enough, I'll do it for you, or just not adapting to the pace of the person so that they're able to fully participate. Invalidation is coming from, again, we talk about validation is recognizing the reality of the person. Invalidation is, telling the person that, no, what you're seeing is not real, or you're crazy, or whatever it is, to not be in the reality of the person and recognize what they're living, whether you agree or not with it. Banishment is a term he uses for either physically or emotionally excluding a person. So the person around the table with dementia who everyone is pretending isn't there and no one talks to, he would call banishment. I think that very is strong it's a good one, right? Objectification, which is one that I think we all are recognizing, is treating the person. One is ignoring the person, but the other is treating the person as a body that isn't an actual person.
Very common.
Very common when it comes to physical care. Washing a person without actually, recognizing that you have to kind of connect with the person rather than just doing the task. Ignoring. Conversing with other people as if the person isn't there. Often happens in medical and other kinds of appointments where, hello, talk to the person, not just their, the person accompanying them. Imposition, forcing a person to do something that they don't want to do or they're very clearly not ready to do. Withholding, which is a form of neglect where you are ignoring an actual need that is right before you and you are not giving what the person needs. Accusation, blaming a person for behavior or for something they do or say which is not something they can control or is a natural and an honest reaction to environmental or other kinds of things happening, and then blaming them essentially for having dementia. Disruption is when you suddenly disturb a person and interrupt their activity or thoughts. Again, not going at the pace of the person and putting the interrupter, putting their own needs before the person. Mockery, example that Dayna shared just before, making fun or joking at the expense of the person and completely devaluing who they are. And disparagement, where you're directly telling the person, either directly or indirectly through your actions, that the person is worthless and not recognizing their worth. So these are what are the components that Kit Wood has identified as being the things not to do. So we watched, thank you very much, the little skit with Olivia and David. I would like now for you to work with your tables again, and I want you to use the table and identify as many of the different components in this list or others that you saw in a skit that was about 1 minute. In 1 minute, let's see how many things they did that were really damaging towards David the resident. Talk to each other. Are we all ready to come back to the table? All right, we're going to start with you guys because it's more fun for the cameras. Okay. I love it. You're still talking. We got you going. Okay, we're going to share because we have other things to do, all right? So what did you come up with? Do you want to take the mic?
First was treachery because she lied about his wife coming. Disempowerment. She wasn't allowing him to eat on his own. She was trying to force him. Infantilization. She was treating the person as a child, even her tone of voice sometimes.
Even with her when she said, we'll give you your dessert now.
Yeah. And good boy, good boy, good boy. Yeah. Intimidation, again, causing the person to feel fear. She was withholding his dessert. So it's a form of intimidation. Outpacing, she was speaking very quickly.
I was nervous, she said.
It may not have been intentional, but it was.
No Academy Award performance today.
Oh, I thought they were good. It was good. It was good.
Invalidation, it was kind of iffy. It was more that she wasn't really acknowledging his reality. He didn't like those vegetables. That was his reality.
I like this table back here. It's like, absolutely, she was not, he doesn't like vegetables. Yes.
Okay, then we went to imposition. She was forcing the person to do something that he didn't want to do. He didn't want to eat his vegetables. Withholding, in a way, she wasn't meeting all of his needs. Like he needed validation. There were things that he needed that she wasn't meeting. And finally, disparagement. Just her tone and the way she was acting, she could make the person feel worthless. He couldn't eat on his own. There were things he couldn't do. So those were what we came up with.
Well done.
good.
Well done. And well done, Olivia. You got all that in there. Okay. So I'm going to ask, that's why I ask everyone to listen to what other people say, because if you have, sometimes you'll come up with different things. Do you have anything that you want to add that isn't the same as what's already been said? No. Same things. Okay. So we have agreement. All right. Did you have anything additional that you wanted to add? Okay. So we're all on, this is great. We're all on the same page. All right. Okay. So we are
going to move on. We're going to bring up another couple of Davids here because we need to have a couple more actors. So we're going to have another,
We're changing it up.
We're going to keep moving here. We're going to have another
David
case where we're going to try to see the opposite effect now. We're going to see the positive person work and see how we can do positive person work. So we're going to need a couple of other volunteers to come up and join us
From our very
for another small
table.
skit. Very fun little role play. We know that You're out there,
Okay.
actors.
David is going to be David again?
David is going to be David again,
All right.
okay?
We're going to see happy David now.
David is David, so we'll give you a couple seconds here just to read through your role play. So I'll give the background. So now David is in his bedroom in the long-term care facility. He just sits down, his TV is on, and Rayanne, the PAB, has come to knock at the door to speak to David.
He's even got a TV.
All right, let's go. Your mics.
Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, David. Is it okay if I come in?
No problem. Come in.
Hi. I'm just getting the menus ready for dinner, and do you mind if I lower the TV right now? I'm just getting the menus ready for dinner tonight and wondered if you'd like Irish stew or an omelette.
I don't really like either of those. Maybe the stew?
Okay, that's okay. What are you in the mood for?
Maybe something like baked beans on toast. I really don't have much of an appetite.
No problem. I'm sure we can manage that. Is there anything else that you need right now?
No, thank you. I think I just might watch them here until something good comes on.
Okay. Janet is just setting up the bingo if you want to join us, or I can put one of your videos on for you.
Thanks. Bingo sounds good.
Good. Let's go.
Thank you.
Again, what good actors and actresses
I
we
love
have
it.
here amongst us. So again, this is an example of some positive person work towards person-centered care. So what we're going to do, whoops,
We didn't do the chart. We got to go
Where's my
backwards.
chart?
Backwards.
there we
There
go.
you
Okay, so what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to go through some of the positive person work toolkit, and then again you will sit together and you will see what has Teresa and David, or Rayanne and David, done. So recognition, a person who is recognized by name, acknowledged as a person with all their unique thoughts, and we're actually recognize them as an individual and giving them, greeting them by name and saying, hello, how are you? So that's recognition. We then have negotiation, which is facilitated through consultation with the person about their preferences. So asking them what they like, what they don't like, and making sure that we're listening to what that is and that they're supported and involved in that decision-making process. Collaboration, so partnerships between the healthcare professional and the person to carry out an activity or a task. So example, if you were getting dressed or doing something like that. Then we have play, which is, of course, very important, the provision of appropriate activity and enablement of self-expression. So it could be things like, you know, exercising, doing activities, things like that, telling jokes, playing board games, whatever that may be. Then we have giving. So accepting whatever kindness the person with dementia may give you. So, you know, when they give you that thank you, when they give you a little something, here, take one of my candies, when they appreciate, accept it, say thank you, and thank you to you, you know, that give and take. Stimulation, so a form of interaction such as aromatherapy, which stimulates the senses. There could be other things, musical therapy, etc. And the word is stimulation. I think you have it on your thing as stimulation, but it's not.
Did
it's
I change
stimulation.
it? Yeah. No,
Celebration. So not just so.
yeah.
No, it's not stimulation. It's
It was
stimulation, which
yes.
incorporates everything, which is music, which is dance, which is theater, which is the actual real word from Kitwood is timulation. We thought it was a spelling
Typo.
mistake, so I looked it up in many spots, and it is timulation.
And she corrected me after I printed up the tables,
Yes.
at which point I was not spending more time and money to print them again. So it essentially, the word,
It's an encompassing word, that's why.
right. Don't,
Now
yes.
we'll all remember.
We're not testing you on that.
Whereas there's no tests, no. Celebration. So again, I come from a recreation background and special care counseling, so this is certainly something that we do a lot, is we celebrate everything, and that as well is really important. So celebrating occasions, birthdays, are really giving the person some individualized care. I remember when I worked in long-term care, one of the things I used to do because I had the list of everybody's birthdays. And what I would do is I had a helium machine. So on the morning of their birthday, I would go and tie a balloon to their door. And it was incredible because everybody then on the facility would know today is Teresa's birthday. So they'd walk in and say, Teresa, happy birthday. And then also that person, every time they would come to their room, would see that balloon and they had that constant reminder. Okay? Validation. So again, a concept that comes from Naomi Feil from 1993, where it's really accepting the reality of the other person and validating, so that if they are, saying that, they were just out with their wife who is no longer there, or if they're talking about the 1960s like it was today, that it's okay. We stay with their here and now and their moment and not meet our own needs. The next one is holding, so providing a safe psychological space or environment to enable people to truly express themselves. For example, if a person with dementia has experienced distress, we don't isolate them, okay? We actually stay with them, we stay with them in the moment, and we don't create more anxiety for them. Then we have creation, which is encouraging the person to be creative. So that can be done through a variety of therapeutic means. It could be spontaneous interactions of art, of singing, of dance, of horticulture. It could be whatever you like. And then facilitation, enabling the person to do what otherwise they would be unable to do. So this is similar to collaboration. So helping the person, if they want to get out and go for a walk, getting them out to go for a walk. If they really want, to order food out, to eat some really good Chinese food, well, how are we going to make that happen? So it's facilitation for the individual. So what we'd like you to do is, again, take a few minutes and just grab your David case scenario, think about that, and then circle on your list the words or concepts that you saw being practiced in the positive approach.
Are we ready? I'm keeping an eye on the time because we have some other fun goodies. So again, I'm going to be starting with the film table. So there might be some repetition, but I will take any additional contributions from the other tables after. Okay, does somebody want to speak on behalf of your group? Daphne? Take the mic. You're on.
Okay, we said recognition because she did call him by name immediately. Negotiation, which was facilitating through consultation about their preferences in care and the daily, to be involved in the decision-making process. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
He was involved in the decision about what he wanted to eat, etc., and to do. Collaboration, yes, there was nice collaboration, which got better as the visit went along, because he didn't seem to be very collaborative initially.
And also, I think collaboration with the meals. Like
Yes.
it was,
Yeah.
do you want this or this? And then we'll
Yes.
see what we can do.
Play was good because she did suggest an activity to him. Giving, we didn't really see anything much going on there. I don't know if I'm wrong, but we didn't check that one. We didn't check stimulation either.
Okay.
No aromatherapy, no celebrations. But validation, yes, definitely. He was definitely validated.
Yes.
And holding was providing a safe, yes, to some degree, there was a safe psychological space that was enabled him to be more collaborative and to even go out the door, which I thought was pretty good in one little visit. Creation, no, not really. There was no spontaneous singing, although there might have been if you'd been the person. Facilitation, yes. Definitely, we felt that facilitation worked because he was definitely accompanying her in the end for a walk outside of his room.
And I think that the important point to note in all of this is when you work in long-term care facilities, you know yourselves that these types of interventions decrease some of the behaviors that we might see as opposed to increasing them. So if we come in and say, this is what we're having for dinner, and we shut off the person's TV and we just walk into their room, we're going to have a completely different reaction.
Actually, that's the only thing I didn't like in the intervention was the Yeah. We had this little conversation that we didn't really like the shutting off of the TV because he could have been quite annoyed and angry by
But
that.
she did ask. She did ask.
She asked,
said,
but
"Can
she
I-"
did it immediately.
Oh.
She didn't really wait long for an answer.
Yeah.
So we still have
She
some
was
work
nervous.
to do. We're not 100% there yet. We still have some work to do. Okay, it's not Teresa's fault, eh? We gave her the script. She was good.
She ad-libbed.
Why are you telling people this? I'm covering for you there. Okay, I just wanted to know.
Communication strategies,
Commun-
you should always eliminate all external sounds and noises that will distract the person. So the person knows that you're talking to him and he's not listening to the TV. So if I'm asking him a question, he'll know that I'm asking him a question and not somebody from the TV. So I thought it was a legitimate thing.
So here we're using an Alzheimer-centered technique, which might sometimes go a little bit against the person-centered technique. So it's a question of making that judgment call, right? Sometimes it's a question just waiting till he stops looking, but we didn't give you time. And that's a big problem when we don't give you the time. We'll get there, okay. Are there any other suggestions or? They're pretty thorough covering
They're thorough.
everything.
They're a thorough
Just
table.
for the cameras and for the record, they've got a long list here. Okay, I want to give them credit. They're not just you
Yeah,
know.
everybody's got a long
does
list.
anyone have anything to add here? They're showing me the list to prove.
Said that even though there wasn't spontaneous singing or dancing, she did ask him, "What would you like?" And he decided to have toast and something else. That was pretty creative.
Okay, so. Okay, so there was, we have an extra thing we're adding. There was a space for creativity because he said, okay, I'll go with whatever, the stew, but she picked up his body language there and she says, okay, what do you want? Let him be creative and not taking something on the menu. So there was a little bit of creativity there. Invent your own dinner. Okay.
I think it's important to note these are terminologies that you can keep right there at your desk, right beside your workspace.
Keep 'em.
To refer to, you know, because they're we see them commonly in any of the facilities. Francine, this is you, benefits?
This is me. So benefits a person-centered approach. And I think I'm preaching to the choir here. But, you know, improve quality of life, clearly, if people are being respected and valued and not put down. But there are some very concrete things in terms of the results of having these kind of malignant social psychological approaches ends up with people becoming more agitated, being more stressed, having difficulty sleeping, all of which will diminish based on having a positive person-centered approach. So the kinds of things that end up resulting in turning to use of psychotropic medications to control behaviors and all the types of behavioral symptoms that we see will be reduced by prevention, by actually treating people as human beings. I suppose that's not such a revolutionary concept, although sometimes it feels like one. And ultimately is the maintenance of the person's self-esteem. Okay, because a lot of the other things we're talking about, besides quality of life and self-esteem, is about the impact that it will have also for staff and people working with that person. But the other side of it, there's been a lot of research that has also shown very clearly that putting in place person-centered approaches improves morale of the people who are working in the milieu. It improves in terms, it decreases burnout of staff. You have a much more motivated staff who enjoy the work that they do. So it kind of begs the question, why is this not happening as much as it should be? Because it actually makes everything better for everyone. We're going to get there, okay? That's the last part of our workshop. I covered that. Do you want to flip the next one? That's
So
yours.
here, okay. So this is just, we're not really going to go much into this because this is just more of an awareness for you to know that it exists. So a lot of times we don't know, well, how well is our facility practicing person-centered care? Are we actually implementing the approaches that we all think we should be doing? Are we doing it? So there's a variety of different assessment tools out there. I just gave one to Teresa just to sort of pass around to look at. And there are even more than this. I tried to sort of narrow the list down, if you will. But they're questionnaire types of things. Some of them are given to staff. Do you think you're practicing person-centered care? And then some of those same tools can be turned around and passed around to the residents and the families to see globally what is the perception of if person-centered care is being practiced and how can it be adapted or changed. There's even one towards the bottom, the family involvement in care. This one looks at person-centered approaches from a family side and their involvement in care facilities. So are they, participating in meetings? Are they coming in for visits? Are they, providing care to their person, etc. So there's a variety of different ones out there. You'll see one going around. I brought in the PCAT, which is just to give you a little synopsis, 13 items, personalized care. They look at organizational support. Is the environment accessible? Are the approaches that people are using with the person, do they feel that they're being cared for well? And it's a self-evaluation type of thing. So there's many different, as I said, tools out there, and a lot of them are free. Some of them are not, but some of them are free, and you can download them. You can go and find them on the internet, and you can use these to do these assessments within your own facilities.
Actually, that's one of the things, because you have the links for the ones that you found that were good. We are going to be sharing that with Joanne Ravenda at HVD. One of the follow-ups to this conference is we are going to be taking a lot of the tools that were discussed at the different workshops and throughout the day and making it available so that people can benefit beyond this conference from these things. So not only is it on my radar in terms of, I will get from Dayna, because she's already, thank you, done that work. I'm going to be following up to see if there are any French tools that are around. Dayna did a real big research on what's on the internet regarding what's available in French that is internet friendly, but there might be things going on privately. So I actually was talking to Yvon Riando over lunch in the 3 minutes I took for lunch today to see if maybe he can help me work on that in terms of identifying French tools, because nous sommes au Québec. Bonjour. Donc, il faut avoir des outils aussi en français, mais il n'y a pas beaucoup qui sont disponibles. That was for the benefit of our francophone watchers who texted saying, est-ce qu'il y a de français pour cet atelier-là? Sorry, guys. At least they heard that. So.
I was wondering if you could name a couple of good clinical studies that have been done that have actually been successful and were quite large in terms of demonstrating the benefits of
Person-centered care?
Yes, actually, one of them that I started off with the Moscata study in 2016, did a lot of work on that. I'll give it to you, Daphne. MOSQ.
We have it in the bibliography, no?
Yes, I do.
It's in the bibliography of our PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint will also be available on
should be.
the website after
If
the
it's not,
conference.
I'll give it to you. It should be there.
The question was, I'm sorry, you're right. I have to, for everybody out in camera land, the question was, have there been any big effective research studies done to evaluate the effectiveness of person-centered care? And Dayna answered that Muscata, and if we don't have it in our PowerPoint bibliography, we'll make sure that we will have that information available on the website as well.
And the different assessment tools have already been evaluated too for reliability and validity. So these are tools that are being practiced and used
Out there.
out there. Yeah.
Okay, so just to sum up our part, and then we have the last part of our workshop where, again, we're going to make you do some work. So practice recommendation. Oh, you have what? What I'm going to ask is for every table to take 5 minutes, because we need just time to wrap up to share after. Take 5 minutes, and I'd like you to put together some recommendations in terms of how we all know about person-centered care. I mean, most of you knew before you walked into this workshop, and if you didn't, you have a pretty good idea what we're talking about, I hope. How can we make this a reality, either on a personal level What can we do individually? And what could we maybe make a recommendation of things that need to change for maybe the institutions that we're involved in or that we know or that we've had experience with? What can be done that could make these kinds of ways of working with people actually happen? Because that's really the challenge. So there are challenges, but we want you to identify some challenges, but with the solution. So let's see if you can come up with a couple of recommendations in the last couple of minutes.
Just so everybody's aware, a couple of things that we left you for handouts that we'd love you to take with you is the Charter of Rights. Maybe you haven't seen it, but the Charter of Rights, it was developed by Alzheimer Canada. I think I got a picture of it. Maybe I don't. Yeah. Well, I don't have the picture of it, but you have the Charter of Rights in front of you, so that's just a guideline for care. And also we gave you a handout on person-centered language. No. Can I repeat what you just said? Daphne just said that person-centered care is not just for people with Alzheimer's disease, and it's absolutely not. It's for everybody. It's from little guys all the way up to the big guys. You know, it's with their family. It's with everybody that we're caring for.
They try. I think it is a policy. I was just saying, they do talk about person-centered care, but it comes down to the reality that if everyone doesn't have the same philosophy, it's hard to implement.
I just want to summarize what you said. Like, is it being practiced in some of our CLSCs? And you're saying that the want is there, but it's not necessarily being practiced and across the board. And you said maybe they don't have time, but I would actually challenge that belief and say that I think that we all have time because it's just in our daily interactions. It's the humanistic approach to care. So I think that it doesn't have to, it's just as easy to say, you know, hello, how are you, as to say, come with me. And, you know, we've just disempowered and disengaged. Yes?
And also, by using, I think that also by using person-centered care, we avoid the responsive behaviors and all of that, which actually gives us more time because we're not dealing with difficult behaviors and stuff. So it gives us more time at the end of the day when we apply it.
Okay, so we don't have much time, but what we're going to do is we're going to collect all of your recommendations, but I'd like each table to share with us one of your recommendations before we wrap up. We're going to take those recommendations and we are going to have them all typed up and handed in. But we'd like each table to share at least one recommendation with us today. Yes, we're going to give them to the note takers. So does this table have one ready to go? Okay, so I'll pass you the mic.
It's not me, it's David.
David?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have everything.
So recommendation one?
So the first idea for recommendation was to use one of the assessment tools that you identified province-wide to kind of evaluate how facilities may or may not practice person-centered care. And the idea being that this could create awareness and also maybe self-evaluation amongst staff members in those settings.
That every public facility should be using an assessment tool. And that could be that one, or it could be another that we find is better, but it should be one that's fairly simple and has been really validated scientifically.
I would say probably the dementia care mapping is probably the most common one I see and hear of, but it's being practiced in a lot of facilities, but there's many options. So I'll I will take the recommendation and say it out loud from the table at the back. You don't have any?
No, it's okay.
You didn't do your homework.
Well, what I'm saying is that the lack of funding is the basis of all the problems that I see. That results in a lack of staff, time to do this personal-centered care. We're chronically short-staffed. The staff morale sucks,
Yep.
so they don't come into work and they don't give a lot of notice. We had last week, one day, no PAD on our side, next day, no LPN. To me, it all comes down to funding. I think if we had the funds, we could do a lot better.
Okay, so to paraphrase that, a lot of this comes down to lack of funding. Some of the things that you see are missing is when people are tired, when they're burned out, when there's people calling in sick for work and stuff like that. It makes it very difficult to use these approaches because everybody's just trying to keep up, right?
Absolutely. If you have a patient, a resident in bed at 10:30 in the morning, not having been washed or dressed, that has to be a priority.
Yeah. Okay, so 10:30 in the morning, resident not washed and dressed. We need to go with the medical need. Okay? Did your table have a recommendation? Recommendation to have a variety of programs and activities at a variety of times of day. That's a really good one. Sometimes the activities are running only while the activity staff are there, and then there's nothing in the evenings, there's nothing on the weekends, and there's nothing over the holidays. And so if we're offering a variety of activities and programs at different times, we can maybe help reduce some of the behaviors and just be practicing a more person-centered approach.
And then we gotta wrap up.
I would add, opening up these facilities or residences to the community.
Yes.
And allowing the community to take part in what's going on in the center, and the center taking part in what's going on in the community. So inviting students in, inviting different things going on in the facility that people could participate in.
I like that. You're saying opening up these residences more to the community so that more people can participate. And we're starting to see that a lot more with even schools and things like that. They're being more open to the community, and we have more engagement and more buy-in then. Very good
There are,
recommendation.
even within Montreal and some of in the French sector, there's at least one CHSLD that I know that has a daycare on site, and they do interactive activities. But we have pushed people aside in that institutionalization approach, that we really need to break that down and bring people back and integrate. Okay. There was one other recommendation, then we're actually, apparently we're over time, and they should be tearing
Okay,
down the
so we need
walls
to,
now.
we're gonna wrap.
All right, one last one that we'd like to, somebody gonna read?
So the second idea for recommendation was to have compulsory training programs in person-centered care as potentially part of even accreditation for
Absolutely, absolutely.
professionals.
Yeah, all types of person-centered care.
But
Well,
it
we'd
could be
like to
all, yeah.
thank you all for participating in our workshop today. Please make sure you leave your recommendations with us so that we can be passing those onwards. And
Daphne, you're correct, you're reporting, correct? No. Who's reporting?
Alexander.
Who is? Alexandra? You're, okay.
Running the session.
That's okay, oh, God, yes, okay, so she needs the recommendation. Thank you.
I wanted to just state, though, that also, if I don't know if I'll have a chance probably to say it soon in the plenary also, but I want to mention that there is an evaluation, a purple one, form in your pochette. So the workshops are included, the panels included, etc. It's very fast and quick. So please take a minute to fill it out before you go home, because usually when people get home, they don't send them back, or I think that would be a great way. We're also going to put it online, or maybe already online, so that if anybody does forget or doesn't have time, they can do it online.
And thank you very much for participating with us. I think, thank you.